Hey, friends, welcome to another little slice of the Happy Hour podcast that I host that you can listen to wherever you listen to podcasts. Apple, Stitcher, I don't know, where are you getting your podcast? You can find us, the Happy Hour with Jamie Ivey. And yeah, I just sat down with my friend Amy Wolff, and this is episode number 379, just released. And my friend Amy just released a new book. It's called Signs of Hope. How small acts of love can change your world, Signs of Hope. And she really started this movement. You can see these signs here. It's called the Don't Give Up movement. And she started this a handful of years ago. She tells the story over on the podcast, but I'll give you a little sneak peek. She decided that she was just going to make these signs and put them in people's yards and offer hope. No branding, no marketing, nothing. This is a mini one, but they look like this. You can do hard things. Don't give up. Obviously, they're much bigger because they go in yards, but aren't these amazing? And so they started this movement, and she started hearing like, oh my gosh, people's lives are changing. And that's what this book is, Signs of Hope. But also, Amy was on my podcast a while ago in December of 2018, episode 224. Go check that out if you want to see it. If you want to listen to it, you can't see it, but you can listen to it. And we talked about this movement, and we also talked about a relationship that she had with her friend, Missy. All right, we talk about it then. Missy is also throughout this book. But one thing that Missy and her did was at the end of 2019, they made this 2020 manifesto. All right. And so she's going to talk about how that has been for her throughout 2020 and 2021 and how it's impacted her. So here she is. Amy, you were on Faith and Politics with us in October of 2020 on the Happy Hour, and Eugene Cho was also on that episode, and we talk about something that you had written about before, about your 2020 manifesto. And I'll give a little overview, you can fill in the blanks, is that you and your friend Missy, who you talk about in your book, Signs of Hope, you went in to 2020 saying, hey, this is our manifesto. Here's what we're going to do. You knew it was an election year, but there's no way that you knew what was going to happen. And you definitely didn't know we were going to be in a global pandemic. So I would love for you to give us a little update on that, if you could. And what does 2021 look like after the year of your 2020 manifesto with you and your friend?
Yeah, well, it's so funny you asked, because just recently I took that image that we have and I crossed out 2020 and put 2021. Same applies.
Carrying over.
Same applies. Politics won't rule our hearts. We will choose empathy. It's not the same as endorsement. Like, you'll hear similar commitments. The manifesto was 10 commitments, and they are required of us now.
Really, I want to know, I love that you said they're going to carry on, and then maybe even give me with sitting on those 10 things of 2020, how are you a different person because of those choices that you had to make?
I think committing to the manifesto has changed the way I see people. I am slow to form opinions. I am not as irritated scrolling through Facebook at the different articles and opinions that people have. There's more peace. I have more joy. There's more love. It's the fruit. It's the fruit of our mindsets, how we approach people. And I think those commitments have changed how I interact with the world, how I see the world. Mm-hmm. And one of the commitments was to listen to the voices of minorities, that our systems are in place by a majority, and that does not make up reality. So we might have to go seek out the other voices that have not had a room at the table. And certainly it's been a year of doing that with people of color, but there has been two subcategories of people that I haven't known well. And Missy and I both recognize them as people we both didn't understand and needed to listen to. And it's people with disabilities and Native Americans or Indigenous people. So I have been reading, I know you always ask people, what have you been reading? I've been reading this book called All the Real Indians Died Off, and 20 Other Myths About Native Americans. I'm only a couple myths in, and it is so convicting, friend. It is hard, and it is heavy, and I find myself even resisting. No, wait, hold on. And that's okay. We don't need to check our brains at the door when we choose empathy. Like, we can try to critically think and wonder, but we need to stay teachable. And so read this 2020 manifesto, committed to listening to the voices of minorities, is continuing to humble me, keep me teachable, pursuing resources, having these conversations. And it's really not fun. it's hard work,
because
but
it's hard.
it's the right work. It's the right work.
So of those 2020 manifestos that you made that are now carrying over to your 2021,
yes,
which would you say is the one that changed you the most?
I think this one, that we will be teachable, especially by the voices of minorities, is the one that has shifted my spirit, my mind, my heart. Another one that's really just more practical that has helped immensely is, who am I listening to? What voices am I listening to? Because are they just the same ones that say what I want to hear? Yeah. Cable news, friend. Depending on what you watch and who you listen to, will only repeat back to you what you want to hear.
Yeah.
And that is in no way edifying at all. And so one of the commitments was, we will diversify our news sources. We will not sit in echo chambers. We refuse to do that. So I started going to allsides.com. It's a news site that helps you understand the biases of certain other sites. And biases, I've learned, doesn't mean untrue. That just because that's a biased source, well, that doesn't mean it's necessarily untrue. You just have to be mindful. They're seeing it through a lens.
Yes.
But not to also throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? So it's just this nuance and this discipline and intention. I have to intentionally pay attention to what I'm hearing. Yes. Who am I listening to? And that, I'm less angry. I'm less angry because I'm not going to the same news sites. And that's on the far left and the far right. I'm not listening to either.
You're going in the middle.
I will stay in the middle.
Yeah.
And then once in a while I might hit a little further right, a little further left, but I will not go to the extremes.
Do you have those pulled up? The 10?
Mm-hmm.
Can you read the 10 manifestos that you did for 2020 that are now your 2021 manifestos? My favorite. I love that it's like crossed out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We will do the hard work of empathy. We will diversify our news sources. We will embrace nuance and ditch absolutes, like you are either for us or against us. We will not entertain nor be entertained by hateful rhetoric, no matter how witty. We will courageously and appropriately call out racism, sexism, bigotry, and hate. We will admit when we're wrong. We will respect boundaries. We will focus on the law of love. We will be teachable, especially by the voices of minorities. And number 10, we will not let politics rule our hearts and minds.
Even in 2021.
Yep.
Okay, guys, if you want to see the manifesto that Amy is talking about, we linked it down here in our notes. Also, if you like this, please like it. And if you don't subscribe to us. But I really found it interesting that the one that has impacted her the most was listening to minority voices. And I just say that's something that I've been trying to do in my own life, and I encourage you to do that as well. And I'm thankful for Amy speaking about it. So if you want to hear this whole conversation where we talk about other things about like how do we walk through suffering well, how we can actually be hope in the world. Like everyone's looking for hope. Everyone wants to be hope. How we can do that. And we also talk about how do we actually mean you matter. When we tell people, like, how do we actually mean you matter? Well, we got to change some things in our own life. So we talk about that over on the Happy Hour with Jamie Ivey, episode 379. You can go listen to that wherever you get podcasts. You guys, thanks for joining me today as a little snippet from the podcast. Remember, like this, subscribe it, share it with your friends, and we'll see you back next time.